I'm Johnny Vaughan.
I've struck brass, gang.
And this is Steve Brooker, otherwise known as Mud God.
I actually want to change history.
He's one of a select group of licensed amateur archaeologists known as Mudlarks, who scour the banks of the River Thames, searching not for buried treasure, but for hidden history, and whose discoveries have changed our understanding of London forever.
There's stuff in that mud that no one's ever seen before.
On the Thames foreshore lies over 2,000 years of history just waiting to be discovered.
And that's what does it for me.
But larking's no job for those afraid to get stuck in. To wade through time, you've got to be prepared to get your hands dirty, armed with little more than a trowel and a lot of patience.
No!
Wait.
Steve's agreed to share with me his decades of knowledge and experience.
It's gold.
We'll race against time and tide to get to the bottom of London's muddy history.
Oh, yes!
Our adventures on the foreshore will propel us on historical quests that range from the sublime to the painful.
Ow!
To the downright disgusting.
Oh, man, that reeks! Oh, God. Out the shed, out the shed.
As we become mudmen. In today's Mudmen, I take mudlarking to a new level.
Butt scraping.
I've done buttlarking. There we go.
Brooksy and I delve deep underground to get some Victorian pleasure.
Sex and drugs and rock and roll.
And there's mutiny in the ranks as we get to grips with a 19th century ship.
It's too hot!
Down!
It's
down!
too hot!
Down with you,
It's
Mr.
too
Christian!
Today, Mudmen comes from Rotherhithe, which is located on the south bank of the River Thames. The name itself derives from the Anglo-Saxon word rother, which means sailor, and hithe, the word for haven or landing place. These days, though, it's best known for its luxury apartments, where city boys dwell. But Rotherhithe's character is really formed by its strong maritime heritage.
It was from here that the Pilgrim Fathers set sail for a new life in the New World aboard the Mayflower. Interesting to note, the bar still offer a fine selection of traditional ales. Writer Jonathan Swift chose Rotherhithe as the home for Gulliver when he returned from his travels in Lilliput. It was also here that Carcass, the ship captained by Horatio Nelson, was built in 1773. So what you've got here is 1,000 years of history connected with sailors and shipping. At the very least, I'm hoping to find, I don't know, buried treasure, maybe even a galleon on the foreshore down there. The one man who can make that dream live. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, mudman extraordinaire, Steve Brooker. Arr.
Steve is one of 51 mudlarks licensed to dig up to 1 metre on the foreshore, whilst I'm permitted to scrape up to 3 inches. But, like a couple of canutes, one thing we can't control is the tide. The foreshore is eroded by 2 tides daily, so what we don't find today could be lost to us forever. Rotherhithe foreshore is a treasure trove of all things nautical. Helping us unearth London's maritime past, a husband and wife combo, GM and Steph, Mackie, Rock God, along with Mudhounds Stolly.
And of course, we're in sunny Rotherhithe today.
Yeah.
Not so sunny, it's a bit drafty.
I love always putting sunny in front of places that clearly aren't. Go on.
But of course, Rotherhithe has been a port since the 12th century.
Has it?
And then it was an Elizabethan shipyard from the 16th century. Rotherhithe is renowned for the first underwater tunnel built by Brunel to actually go over to Wapping.
Is it?
But the most important thing about Rotherhithe is Max Bygraves was born here.
You're joking.
You need hands.
You need hands to hold someone you care for.
But it was my mum that actually told me about that because I'm a bit too young for that. But
Right.
I mean,
Thanks,
you're
thanks,
that
thanks.
age.
Listen,
So,
you need
yeah.
hands to show that you're sincere when you feel nobody wants to know you. You need hands to brush away a tear.
I love you, Johnny.
All right, nice.
Let's mudlark.
Let's mudlark. This way. Mates, I want to tell you a story. SAS, survey, assess, scrape.
Of course, yeah, we've got shipbuilding going on down here, so you hopefully should get an abundance of nails.
Right.
Something I like for the garden.
Oh, that's great.
Of course, it's a ship's deadeye.
A deadeye is a pulley that's used in the standing and running of rigging on a traditional sailing ship.
Now, my dad was telling me about the first thing to be mass-produced on a production line was Royal Navy pulley blocks. Yeah. People just doing that bit, that bit, that bit, and the finished item coming off at the end. Even, you know, way before, obviously, Henry Ford, so there we go.
You dry these out, and when you smell them, as you do, it's like a talcum powder smell. So I'm not sure what they used to put on the ropes, or whether they put it on the pulley itself, on the deadeye.
Alum.
Could be, yeah. And it's just a nice, pleasant smell. So we sit there with the family at night, passing a block round to sniff. It's nice.
I can sit that in my bucket. I might clean that up, dry it out, and give it to my dad. He might use that as a paperweight. He'd love that. What's that?
You get a lot of these down here. I can take you to a place where there are actually thousands of these. This is a caulking tool. Imagine the planking on a ship. Yeah. Of course, how do you make that watertight? Yeah. In the actual joint itself, you use hemp, and then of course you bang it in all the way along. And then you tie it, you know, you actually put tar on there to actually waterproof the thing. So it's an actual caulking tool. And so sometimes you can get these where you get somebody's name on it.
But not on this one?
No, not on this one.
What have you had? What markings have you had on them, Steve?
I've had notches, I've had people's names
Notches?
On them. Yeah.
What does that mean?
One notch is mine, two notches yours.
I thought you meant like victims.
No. This is somebody's work tool. Without it, they can't work.
While I leave Johnny to see what he can find on his own, I check in with my fellow mudmen to see what they've unearthed.
Right, where you had up?
Nice little barrel lock, or a portion of a barrel lock at least, which I think is pretty old, maybe 16th, 17th century. Shipbuilding, it's got a nice copper nail. Beast, isn't it? That would have been used on a part of the ship that would have been seen, so easily, you know, you could polish it up and make it look sort of almost blingy on your ship, really. And then the rest of the ship, sort of downstairs, would have been used to sort of iron nails that wouldn't have been seen. So feel the weight of that, all that copper in there. Imagine like a copper penny. How many pennies is that worth? You know, imagine the guy building the ship. He's up his scaffolding and he's pulls out his hand and drops down there. He'd have been docked.
Up his rigging.
He'd been docked 6 pennies wages or something like that.
Actually had some quite nice stuff today. Oh, I'm quite pleased with it. And nothing absolutely special, but it's a boat hook, which obviously used to prod them out and pull them back. And I think the star find today, actually, this is a 1694 William halfpenny. He was probably bald, actually, underneath all that, but in all his finery. That's quite nice, isn't it?
I mean, this is just solid. I mean, this is just nails here. This is so they used to make ships here, so it's just all. This is literally just solid nails. Steve!
Yeah?
What? What does that mean?
Here, Johnny.
Tappity tap tap tap.
Here, Johnny.
All right. What I've done is I've got loads of nails for us.
Yeah, OK.
Well done, John.
There's nails here.
Right. Right. So, Steve, another nice dark patch for us here.
Erosion time.
Yeah, there's another one here.
These, believe it or not, copper nails, exactly the same as on the Mary Rose.
Are they?
Is that, yeah? And there are thousands of them down here. Remember, they just didn't build ships down here, they dismantled ships down here.
There we go. Good. Sorry, I moved back. It was really childish, that.
He shuffled down the foreshore on his bottom, and then all of a sudden he's hit an artefact, he's looked at the artefact, and he's missed the artefact. Can you see the artefact? Because you sat on it, you moved it, you looked at it, and you actually touched it with
Hey, domino!
But it's a bone domino. So
That's
imagine.
a 5 and 3. That's a really good domino.
So imagine the sailors playing dominoes up in the inns and in the pubs. No, you've lost one. Maybe it was off a ship or something. But of course it's a bone one, so we've got age to this already. So when we give
so
this...
have I technically found that then? Using my butt cheeks?
Yeah. Butt scraping.
I've done butt larking. There we
go.
go.
Hey.
That's going in. That's a really good one. Look,
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
I have a confession to make. I've watched Saturday Night Fever over 200 times, but I've got a guiltier pleasure. I love old shoes. Not any old shoes, but medieval shoes. And for some reason I find more medieval souls in Rotherhithe than anywhere else on the foreshore.
Check it out. Look, what do you notice all of a sudden?
No tide marks at all down there, but here you can really see where the retreating tides left things.
Time to put Johnny to the test with a little race to see who can find the most leather items in 1 minute.
Yeah, pick a line. What do you want? You can have top, middle or bottom.
I'll go one from the middle, please, Bob.
Okay, I'll do the one on the left then. Ready?
I don't want to pull a hammy down there. Jesse, Steve. Okay, let's do this. Charles, ready?
Ready?
Let's go.
Any marks?
What are we looking for here? Soles?
Anything, any leather work? Any leather work, stick it in your bucket. Brawny, what was you like on sports days? Any good?
No, I was too busy trying to just survey, appraise. It's great. Always, even on like 100 metres, I'd stop, I'd see something there, get my trowel out.
More like smoking round the bike sheds. Oi! Brawny, get back in line.
Why?
You're cheating, this is your line here.
Is that where we get the expression, get back in line?
It
is.
is.
That from Mudlarks?
When we're looking for medieval souls.
Yes, exactly right.
Time's up, let's have a look at your bucket.
There is no I've got more than you, mate.
Rubbish, look at the amount of
That
leather.
one. Look at that little puppy.
It's probably from the 20s.
1920s?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, as it goes, you probably actually beat me on age. No, again, 50s. As I do like a bit of shoe. No, 50s again.
So how did you sort of start researching it and stuff?
There's plenty of books.
Is it?
Ah, tons of books and shoes, yeah.
So what did you do then, instead of reading books?
Thank you.
Do they do story tapes for the car?
They do, with done in big crowns.
In which case, the stitching is closer, so the shoe is probably not medieval.
Oh, Daddy,
Let's
I
have
like
a
the
listen
story.
to our next shoe. Hey, medieval show. Medieval show. Get your medieval shows.
Still to come on Mudmen, Johnny brings the full weight of his academic knowledge to the table at Mudmen HQ.
Realistic hair, gripping hands, eagle eyes.
Down at the River Thames, mud god Steve Brooker and I, along with our army of mudmen, are trawling the foreshore at Rotherhithe in the hope of unearthing London's maritime history.
Do you want to play hot and cold again?
No, I don't want to play hot and cold.
We don't need to play hot and cold because you're getting the eye.
Yeah, I hate it when you do this. Yeah?
It's because you move so fast.
Okay, sorry.
Remember, we're always teasing.
Always teasing.
It's harder to tease in this, so you've got to give it a little bit more.
Okay.
That's quite manly. Oh, I tell you got hot there. You got very hot. I don't know if you noticed, but the tide is coming in. And also,
Steve, I don't think there's any room for sarcasm, right?
we have a boat going by, so you could have a wet bottom unless you get this artefact in the next 20 seconds.
It's here, right?
Left.
This is the most tedious.
At last.
Oh, this is good. I wasn't looking down it. That's really good. That's a penknife handle. I mean, a knife handle, right?
Well, it's a folding knife.
Yeah. How old's that?
Well, it's probably about 18th, if not a lot earlier. In fact, I think it's probably about earlier. It could be about 1750, 80s. It's like a pistol grip. You see this? We cast this as like a pistol grip.
Good, I've found. And I'm finding things like this all the time.
It's good fun. Let's watch it. Let's have a quick look.
Okay. Is that a good find?
Yeah, it's a very good find. It's a pity you haven't got the blade on it. And also, sometimes you'll get a guy, or maybe a woman, that will actually put his mark on it. Hence, my knife. But it's a very nice. We'll have to show this to Jeff, see what Jeff says. Got a bit of the end missing.
Let's put it in my bucket.
Oh, your bucket. You know that cream tea you was talking about
It's
earlier
at the
on?
Mayflower pub up there.
Do you fancy one?
Yeah.
Steve's called time on our larking at Rotherhithe, so now it's time to find out about what we've unearthed. All finds can be proudly presented to the Portable Antiquities Scheme. Set up to record objects found by members of the public, there are several regional finds officers around the country. But fortunately for us, we've arranged to meet ours at the pub. Sorry, Mudmen HQ. Jeff Egan works for the PAS and the British Museum. He's also got a beard, so he clearly knows his stuff.
So, Jeff, this is our Rotherhithe hoard. What do you make of it?
Well, looking at it straight away, it really says ships big time. There's a whole series of tools, nails and so forth, which can be related to things maritime. What you've got is very good 18th, 19th century, going back to some 17th century material. This is really talking about ships big time, ships going all over the world at this period when we've got a big empire still growing.
So, Jeff, let's go to some specifics here. What interested you? What did you enjoy here?
Well, the padlock's been noted.
Wait a second. We have said padlock. We are now in a specialist area of Steve. So, Steve, tell us about the padlock.
What do you reckon on that? 18th?
I would reckon so, yes, looks like.
Steve, you have how many padlocks?
About 2,000 or 3,000.
You have 2,000 or 3,000 padlocks. There's nothing more manly than a padlock on a shed, Steve.
So what date do you put on this
You've got
one?
3,000 padlocks.
I say 18th. It's got to be 18th, just because of the shape of it. Padlocks, you know how much I love a padlock.
This interested me. Any idea, either of you, what that is?
Well, it's for grabbing something and pulling it, I think, but...
Steve?
Yep, it's a stevedore's hook.
A stevedore's hook?
But a very strange stevedore's hook, because, of course, it would have been gripped on like this.
Yeah.
Now, most stevedore's hook would be great big spikes on it, so you just into the bow and out. Normally, a stevedore's hook is one singular big hook, straight in and towards you. But this being two, I reckon it's for a wire.
Anything else of interest here, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I was taken by this knife handle here. It's a fairly common type of 18th century knife. It's derivative of so-called pistol grip, but you've got a bit of little decoration on the bone scale there, but very characteristic of its time. Very common type of knife, but just lifted by a little bit of decoration there.
Did I almost find that?
Almost.
Thank you very much. Can I say, I was looking at the whole hoard here, and this intrigued me, just because it really didn't kind of look like much. What is that, Jeff?
Well, it's only half, but it's a toy spinning top. One of these whipping tops.
Yeah.
All good Victorian children had one. It's such a universal toy that it can be anything from late medieval right the way through to 20th century, but my guess is 19th century from here.
It hasn't got the point that goes through there.
Well, I can use one of these nails to demonstrate, perhaps. If you imagine that as the pointed iron...
But it fits exactly!
Point.
Sorry.
And you would try and set the thing spinning by twisting a rope around it, pulling it, and of course the thing was to get it so that it stood up for as long as possible.
You battle them.
And then you would actually whip it with a whip, and that would keep it going if you were skillful.
Did you play this in your day, Jeff?
Before my time.
You can confess if you did.
No, before my time. What about you?
No, I didn't. But
No.
did you used to have always antique toys? I can imagine you did.
I didn't, I'm afraid, no. I had a few antique marbles, but that was as good as it got.
That was it, okay. What about you, Steve? I mean, would you have had a toy as exciting as that?
Action Man.
Action Man?
With moving eyes.
Did you have eagle eyes?
I did.
The eagle eyes came just after the gripping hands in the evolution of Action Man. It goes realistic hair, gripping hands, eagle eyes. That's the evolution of the action. I've said too much. Let's move on to another object. Here we go. Okay. What else we got here, Jeff? Let's get back to shipbuilding. Of course, that's what Rotherhithe very famous for. 1,000 years of shipbuilding and sailors. What's that, boys?
Well, this is a spoon bit for actually digging out, gouging out a groove so that you can make the fine tuning of wooden timbers.
It's like a gouge.
It is, absolutely. It's going to be for linear holes.
What else above the sort of shipbuilding things we got here? These are ship's nails, right?
They may be for the docks.
Oh, right, okay.
They could be for ships, but yeah, they're real heavy-duty things, as you can see.
What's the earliest nail here from shipbuilding?
Cool.
Go on, show me a nail that would have been on Nelson's ship car.
With that fine tuning, they got of the crucifixion, and you know, I can show you something that's almost similar coming there.
So ship's nails, like sharks, perfectly evolved. There's hard to age, and we can't see where they've ever changed.
There are specialist nails. There are ones for putting in decks. There are ones for putting on wheels. There are ones for putting in furniture. There are ones for doing coarse work. Large nails, of course, to hold the biggest timbers together, and these small ones, which are copper alloy, are so perhaps that they didn't spark with gunpowder around. You didn't want a nail of iron that would catch against the nail in the bottom of a shoe. So copper alloy nails.
Otherwise,
maybe deck nails.
Kaboom! One thing I found that I was really pleased about finding was this. This is a domino with 3s and 5s, which actually a 3s and 5s domino means an unexpected stranger is going to call. And after I found this, it kind of it made me quite spooked for a bit that I was about to get that. But what do you think of that?
Well, looks like it may well be a good 18th or 19th century one, so it's certainly bone, so not the sort of thing that we would have today. And some of the French prisoners from the Napoleonic Wars used to make these and sell these.
Our finds from the foreshore have certainly left us to ponder all things nautical. So it's time for me and Steve to go our separate ways and delve deeper into our rich maritime past. Still to come,
Morning, I'm coming out, it's too hot.
things get steamy for Steve and I as we cast off at Henley-on-Thames. After a good day's larking at Rotherhithe, we brought up a treasure trove of artefacts with a distinctly nautical feel. So now we're off for some more expert illumination. And for Steve, that means going dockside. From 1800 right up until the 1970s, over 35,000 people were directly employed in London's docks, with trades ranging from shipbuilders to barrel makers. By 1981, all of London's major docks had closed, leaving much of the docklands a derelict wasteland.
I want to know why one of Britain's greatest industries declined so spectacularly, and there's no better place to start than the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. So, the Thames 200 years ago, what was it like?
Well, it's difficult for us to imagine now because the Thames today looks so empty, but it was unimaginably busy. There must have been thousands of ships. London at that time was the busiest port in the world, and of course London was the greatest city in the world.
So the docks, what were the docks like? Can you paint us a picture?
The Thames was getting so crowded, particularly in the Pool of London, that in the early 1800s whole new docks were being built. There was the West India Dock, the East India Dock, and so on. And these were huge new cargo handling areas. There were huge new warehouses, and these docks had very high perimeter walls, some of them over 6 meters in height. So they were very secure places, and they were used for storing the goods that were coming into London.
But the heyday of London's docks was much more recent than you'd imagine.
In its own way, the Port of London was as busy in the 1950s and 60s as it was 200 years ago. The port was handling huge quantities of cargo. Thousands of ships were using the port's facilities every year.
So what happened to all the docks? There's hardly anything left.
It was really containerisation that brought about that rapid decline. Containerisation became very popular from the 1960s onwards, and basically it was putting all your cargo in large metal boxes, either 10, 20 or 40 feet in length, and it means that you can transport lots of different types of cargoes. And of course the other big advantage with containers is that you can just put them on the quayside and your cargo will be totally secure. So that does away with having to put your cargo in, bonded warehouses and so on.
Containerisation also meant the end of specialist carriers. Now ships were capable of bringing in many different types of cargo on a single boat. This led to the building of bigger ships which needed deep water ports. London simply couldn't cope, and business moved upriver to Gravesend and Tilbury. Now, what do you think about it? That lovely Thames out there is just not being used anymore?
It's a great shame. With the closure of the last docks in the early 1980s, those communities that built up around the Port of London, in the East End, those families that had worked in the docks, for generations, suddenly found themselves without any work.
I'm off to meet a man who has witnessed the demise of the docks firsthand. Herbert Tuckfield, otherwise known as Winkle, has worked for over half a century at London's dry docks, where ships are both built and repaired.
Oh, Winkle, I'm Steve.
Hello, mate.
How you going, mate?
All right, these are for you. Hi, Vizzy and Ardet.
Let's get these on.
Okay.
Right, you lead the way.
Okay.
In the late 19th century, there were 33 dry docks in central London. By the 1930s, that number was reduced to just 16, and today only one floating dry dock remains.
So then, Winkle, what are we going to be doing here?
Right, we're going to be painting the boot line or the water line. It's been masked up so you can paint to your heart's content.
So what happened to all the dry docks?
Most of them were in the Royal Docks or the West India Docks, so they've all closed. I mean, you can't have ships in there with people hammering and bashing with all luxury houses all round.
Yeah, precisely, yeah. The old house prices will go down a bit. With you guys, I'm knocking around old painting all night.
Yeah, like everybody wants to live on the river, looking out over the river.
Yeah.
So all the yards, all the brown sites have all gone now and they're all development.
So how long have you been doing this for?
51 years.
51 years? How old was you when you started?
Officially 15, but unofficially 14.
You started at 14?
Yeah.
So what made you go into ship repairs?
My uncle, he owned a Thames sailing barge and he needed it repaired.
So you was the man?
So I was the man. There was quite a lot of barge yards. I mean, I served my time as a barge builder. I mean, some of the Lightridge firms had like 800,000-900,000 plus barges.
Yeah? So what kind of work do you do in a dry dock?
Well, this painting, we do all repairs, like if there was a damage, you cut it out and weld in new plates.
And how has it changed from when you started?
When I started, it was riveted, all riveted barges and boats. Now it's all welded.
So what's happened to all the riveters? Have they all become welders?
Well, yeah, a lot of them, or they've all died.
Yeah.
But,
a dying trade?
Yeah, a dying trade.
So is it something, are there still apprenticeships in what you do now?
No.
Nothing at all?
No. All the waterman side is still all licence and apprenticeships, like they're quite a long apprenticeship. My apprenticeship was 6 years, but now nobody will invest in apprentices.
It's quite sad though, really, when you think about it, that, you know, how important we were in shipbuilding, and now we haven't even got apprenticeships, and we're, in the long run, going to have to get people from other countries to come over and basically do what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's sad, really, isn't it?
Well, that's right.
Now, I noticed as I came through the gates that there's a sign up there that says that you guys are moving. So not only can you not get apprentices to be here, but they're kicking you off as well. Where are you going?
Just down the river.
Oh, where?
Yeah, it's a completely rebuilt site down there. It was a barge yard and repair yard originally.
So why are you guys having to move then?
Well, the landlords obviously sold it to developers.
That's sad though, really.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But the good thing is you're just going to be moving down the road.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. Be like a busman's holiday.
Well, yeah. So I'd go down there for a while and then probably just fade away.
On the final part of Mudmen, Johnny has plans for one of Britain's greatest feats of engineering.
Fill it with speakers, sweaty ravers really doing their thing. You're coming down to IK Brunel's.
It's boiling hot down here.
And as we get steamy on the Thames, there's an outbreak of Mudman man love.
The two of you down there, it was like a village people get together.
Sailor love with Nick!
Steve, Brooker and me are mudmen. After a morning trawling the foreshore at Rotherhithe, we were left with a bounty of all things nautical. Steve traced the rise and fall of London's proud maritime heritage, and now it's time for me and Brooksy to journey under the Thames to discover the eighth wonder of the world.
In the early 1800s, the Port of London was the heart of trade for the British Empire, and also the busiest port in the world. And just think to yourself, 3,000 tall ships down here just waiting to find a berth.
But finding a berth wasn't actually their main problem. Their main problem was getting cargo from the North Shore to the South Shore, or from the South Shore to the North Shore. Now, they could have built a bridge, but they'd have to build a bridge that could accommodate tall ships going under them with masts 100 feet high, and that was their biggest problem.
If they couldn't go over the Thames, there was only one logical, if seemingly fantastical solution: go underneath it.
Hello, I'm Johnny. This is my friend Steve. He's a mudlark.
Welcome to the eighth wonder of the world.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. Should we go in?
This way.
Brilliant.
Mark Brunel came to England to build a tunnel under the River Thames. The first tunnel under a river anywhere in the world, and it is the oldest tunnel in the oldest underground system in the world.
Mark Brunel was undoubtedly a father of the modern age. Not only would he invent a tunnelling method still used today, he was responsible for inventing the Wellington boot and the first ever mechanised mass production anywhere in the world.
Of course, it's a ship's dead-eye.
The first thing to be mass produced on a production line was Royal Navy pulley blocks.
Yeah.
People just doing that bit, and the finished item coming off at the end.
Yep, that was Mark Brunel. In 1798, he designed a machine that would automate the production of the 100,000 wooden pulleys the Royal Navy required every year. genius.
What did people think of Mark Brunel when he first formulated the idea for the tunnel?
Well, they thought he was mad, because he arrived here saying he was going to build a tunnel, and he built a tower on a huge iron ring. So it's like 50 foot across, and it's got a sharp leading edge. And of course, as the weight of the bricks gets heavier and heavier, so the ring sinks into the soft earth like some huge pastry cutter.
And did they keep on bricking up on top,
Yeah.
digging out underneath, and then gradually, as this got heavier and heavier, it just kept on sinking down?
Yeah, that's it. And so what began 50 feet above the ground was 50 feet below the ground in a few weeks.
It's such a good example, isn't it, of early lateral thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, to make that leap, to think, no, I won't dig down, that's too hard, we'll go up and just let gravity do the digging. I mean, it's genius, isn't it?
Before Brunel, the way you built a tunnel was you dug a trench.
Yeah.
And you put what you want in the trench, and then you cover it over. It's called the cut and cover method.
OK, but you can't do that with the Thames.
So what they did was they built a tunnelling shield, a miner's cage, and it's like this huge rectangular thing with 3 rows of 12 little cages, each cage the size of a man. In each cage, each man has a wall of planks in front of him, and they're held in by metal poles.
Yeah.
And each man in each cage takes out the top 2 poles, removes the plank, digs to 4 inches, which is about the size of a brick.
Yeah.
And when the man in the cage above him and below him has done the same, then those 3 in a row are jacked forwards by screw jacks, pushing against what's been built. And as it moves forwards, bricklayers working behind them build the tunnel walls.
It's genius, isn't it? It is a human tunnelling machine.
It is, and the tunnelling machines today are direct lineal descendants.
How many men would it have taken to do those 18 years?
It's like this massive, massive machine, but men are each component part, so hundreds and hundreds.
Brooksy and I have been given the very rare privilege of going down into the old entrance hall of the tunnel itself. Only a handful of people have been given access in the last 140 years. Whilst we're descending by scaffolding, this entrance used to be extremely ornate and house a beautiful spiral staircase.
It's like being in one of those great big gas tanks. You know those gas tanks that go up and down? It's like the interior of one of those. How thick are these walls, Robert?
They're 4 foot thick, and this whole thing weighs 1,000 tons. So that was what they sunk, and they underpinned it to stop it sinking.
Okay.
Else it'd still be going.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, keep on going.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear the train?
How far is that below?
It's 14 feet below us. Yeah. But it wasn't built for trains, of course. This tunnel was built for cargo. It was built to move cargo under the busiest river in the world. This is an East India Company tunnel.
Did they finance it all?
It was financed by investors, and they were going to build another shaft, 4 times the size of this, to move the horse and the carts and the cargo down to the tunnel and across to their side. They ran out of money, but it opened as a visitor attraction.
So it really was quite an heroic failure.
Oh, yes, yeah. And financial disaster in Brunel's day.
So why is it regarded as such a success then?
This is the birthplace of the tube system, not just for London. So if you take a metro journey anywhere in the world, New York or Beijing, in a very real sense, your journey began here, in this tunnel beneath our feet.
So was it a success as a tourist attraction?
Yes, it was. If you imagine on the first day this opened, 1843, 50,000 people filed down that staircase on the first day. 1 million people in the first 15 weeks. That's over half the population of London. But they only pay a penny each to walk under the river.
Hang on a second, 1 million pennies back then, that's a lot of money.
But still not going to cover much more than the bank interest. I mean, they've got no real revenue. And that's why they opened the tunnel as a shopping arcade.
Did they?
A shopping arcade. Beneath your feet, there are 2 tunnels with 60 connecting arches, with columns and Doric capitals. It's like a cathedral. Yeah. And in those archways, there were shops, and those shops sold souvenirs.
So what went wrong? Well, where there's money to be made, there's crime. The tunnel's dark archways proved the perfect place for nefarious deeds, and it wasn't long before souvenirs weren't the only thing on sale to Victorian punters.
If you're trying to sell fine bone china souvenirs in Archway 36, an archway 37, though officially empty, is echoing with the unmistakable noise of two people in energetic conversation.
Rhythmic noises.
In rhythmic conversation.
Yeah.
You can't sell those quality souvenir goods to the discerning client. So more and more of the shopkeepers don't renew the lease because they say, well, you know, I'm running a souvenir shop, but it's a knocking shop next door and it's bad for business. So now there are even more dark places for dark deeds to happen. People came down that staircase for a piece of the action. In the tunnel beneath our feet, there were not only sideshows and entertainments, there were female acrobats, sword swallowers, fire eaters, magicians,
freaks,
Ethiopian serenaders, Indian dancers, Chinese singers, a team of performing horses. They had a whole section of the tunnel decked out as a ballroom, and they had a steam-powered musical organ playing waltz tunes. Now this soot on the walls is from the steam locomotives, but the first steam engine in this tunnel was playing dance tunes. It's a rave.
I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. You're trying to build a nightclub here, and now you're doing it under the justification of prior usage as a nightclub way back. It's nice. I love the way you're working it. You're gonna fill it with speakers, sweaty ravers really doing their thing. Brunel's. Yeah. You're coming down to IK Brunel's.
So what happened to the tunnel in the end? How long did it stay open for?
Good question, Steve.
In 1865, they sold the tunnel to the East London Railway, and in 1869, it reopened as a railway tunnel, moving cargo, which was the original idea. In the end, the tunnel has been returned to its original purpose, which was moving cargo under the busiest river in the world. That was the plan in 1843. Now, it's a tunnel that's moving people and goods under the River Thames in the oldest tunnel in the oldest metro system in the world.
Mark Brunel never received the recognition in this country he fully deserved. The same can't be said, though, of his British-born son, Isambard Kingdom Brunel. The greatest engineer of his age, worked with his father on the Rotherhithe Tunnel, aged just 19, and was responsible for such feats as the Clifton Suspension Bridge and the Great Western Railway. But he also played his part revolutionising shipping. He built the Great Britain, the largest ship the world had ever seen. Launched in 1843, powered by steam and screw propeller, it provided the template for all modern ships. And that, friends, is the perfect excuse for Brooksy and I to weigh anchor, cast off and set sail on one of the last survivors of that glorious steam age.
So we're here in Henley on a stretch of the Thames that's 35 miles away from London and 105 miles away from the source of the river itself. Since 1839, this has been the venue for the world-famous Henley Regatta, so it's a place that really is steeped in a very rich history.
And today we're going to play captain and crew on a genuine Victorian steamship.
Hello there, we've met before on my stag night.
I remember it well.
It was a classic, wasn't it? Are you still getting letters of complaint, or is that all?
Oh, we're still getting a few.
Anyway, that was 1999. When was this boat actually built?
It was built in 1883. Well, from the late 1880s, it used to run a shuttle service between Oxford and Kingston. It was a 5-day round trip.
So, Pete, can you actually paint a picture of what the Thames would have been like in its heyday for this boat?
Steamboats were, still relatively rare on the river then, and they weren't particularly liked. And this boat had been going at about 10 knots, kicking up a big wash and not stopping for anyone, and generally upsetting people.
I mean, who invented the steamboat?
Well, there was a man called Jonathan Hulls in 1736 who thought up the idea of putting a Newcomen pumping engine into a paddle boat, but that was never actually built, and it wasn't until the sort of 1760s, 1770s that people started making paddle boats. But the propeller boats didn't really start coming in until the middle of the 19th century after Brunel's SS Great Britain, which was one of the pioneers of propeller propulsion.
Is there a possibility that Johnny and I could blow today?
Steve, I don't think you're going to be in any danger down there stoking the boiler. No, Steve.
I'm pilot.
No. Do you know what? Hang on, sorry about this. Do you know what? For even doubting it, for raising health and safety, I was going to let you drive, yeah? Because you've been silly again, an alarmist, and trying to panic us. You're going down there and I'm going to do it. And that's the way it is.
It seems like the poor side of the job again.
No, it doesn't. You've punished yourself, Stephen.
I've even got the captain's hat.
No.
Pete's got a hat for
Well,
us.
you can stop that, because I'm now going to be at the wheel.
Well, it's looking a bit cramped to me, and I would rather be piloting the ship or boat. But of course, you know who has got in there first. As per normal, should be a 50-50 thing. The guy hasn't read his contract. We should be sharing these things. Again, short straw.
So we've got 2 tons of steel and water at about 140 degrees C at the moment. Not the same boiler, but the engine's original. Yes, so push your bum back as far as it will go. Duck your head. There's nothing hot over your head there now. All right, and you'll find your head will go up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I've got it, yeah.
OK.
Well, I'm just doing the cast off now, which is exhausting work. Almost makes me wish I'd gone for that engine room job. Steam up, is it, Steve? Are we all ready to go?
I'm doing great, Vaughan, with no space down here. I've got about 3 foot above me, and that's about as far as it goes. Cheers, mate.
What would strike me instantly is that's designed for a much smaller man.
How tall are you?
6'8".
Being 6'6", I just do not fit down here. I need to be a midget like Vaughan, hence why Vaughan should be down here, and I should be piloting the boat. You enjoy yourself.
Yeah, you just take care, Steve. You stay in there, matey. Let's get you all done. You all right there, Steve? Steve, brilliant work, mate.
Originally a passenger boat, the Alaska served in World War II as part of the Thames River Patrol. After service, she was decked over and used as a pontoon. It wasn't until 1974 that she was rediscovered by boat historians. Over several years, she was lovingly renovated and restored before being put back into service as a pleasure boat.
The light here just makes everything looks absolutely wonderful. In movies, this is when they film the big romantic scene. I mean, that is absolutely England at its finest. You will not see anything better than that. Look, a ground mist, because the sun's just coming down there, just heating up the moisture on the grass. Looks absolutely beautiful, look.
So as Vaughan mucks around up the front there, easy to steer the boat. Of course, I'm working on the old boiler. So I've come up, one on the damper. I've had a bit of a fiddle down below, and I tell you, everything's working perfectly down here. I was born to be a stoker and boiler man.
In engineering circles, of course, we look down on the monkey wrench because it always slips a little bit, and that'll end up rounding your nuts, of course.
Nick didn't tell me anything about rounding of the nuts, as I wouldn't have come down here.
It's a fact. Use a monkey wrench long enough, there's always enough play in it just to round the nuts. Ooh. We frown on those, mate.
Nick, I want out. I don't want me nuts rounded off. Nick!
That's good, Johnny.
What is the speed limit on here?
5 miles an hour is the speed limit these days.
5 miles an hour, so you look at it, that's nothing, that's about 3 knots.
A bloody sauna. I might take my clothes off in a minute.
Steve really should stop complaining. In her heyday, it would have taken shovelfuls of coal to power the Alaska. These days, it's been replaced by small compressed wood briquettes, which are kinder to the environment and the poor stokerman's back.
Silence below! OK, now I'm going to do 4 blasts now, Steve, which tells you I'm going to turn around. Pete, do we need any more steam at this point? Any more at all?
We'll need a little bit, yes.
We need a teeny bit of steam.
We need a
Steve, we need more steam! Quick! Quickly, steam!
More steam!
What's going on the weir? So it's just to keep him going. Bring her about, Mr. Christian!
I'm trying, Vaughan!
Steady, Stephen!
I'm trying!
Steady, Mr. Brooker! I don't need mutiny from him. The mudman.
Vaughan, I'm coming out, it's too hot!
Steve, you see what I'm doing here, yeah? This is skilled stuff. This is much more what we call white collar. You see, white collar, and down there traditionally, you've had a blue collar and been covered in dirt, probably in vests, probably all feeling each other, stuff like that.
Me and Nick were like that.
I know, and do you know what Peter and I weren't, because we had an eye out for some of the ladies promenading.
And a battle wound as well. I've burnt my arm.
Of course you have, I bet he was showing you his scars, wasn't he, down there?
He was, it goes. He was.
I bet he was showing
Nick and his scars.
Yeah. A lot of grease monkeys touching each other's bodies. The two of you down there, it was like a village people get-together.
I suppose you and Peter haven't got any scars like Nick and I.
Of course we haven't got scars. We might have a little bit of damage to our nails. Something like that on the wheel, if it's just caught a bit like that, but other than that, Pete, no, I've got no problems at all.
In little more than the lifetime of this steamboat, Britain has gone from producing 80% of the world's ships to less than 1%. It's a sad stat. But at least we still have boats such as the Alaska to remind us of our magnificent shipbuilding heritage.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, sir. Don't even touch the captain!
Why?
Let me take your hands. They're all right. Go on, shake his hand.
Cheers, Pete. But if I can't shake the captain's hand, it's sailor love with Mick.
I don't know what was going on down there.
My boiler mate.
Let's just say we heard grunts. Off you get. Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Mick.
cheers,
That was
chap.
brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, Steve, pub time.
No, let's talk about my boiler marks. I'm scarred.
Did you see the way I landed that?
That was you. Anyone can do that. I'm scarred.
Anyone could not do that, Steve. Anyone could do what you...
And I burnt my leg as well, Johnny, and I'm scarred. I was the backbone there.
You weren't. You looked at a boiler. I was up there, mate, being the man. I was the man there.
I was stoking.
No, Steve. I was the man.